Hello and welcome to. I decided not to edit my video on John Polidori's The Vampire. So before we begin, first of all, thank you to anyone who can pop by and join me for this unannounced live stream. So if you didn't get a notification, no worries. I hadn't decided to do a live until about an hour ago. So there was no notification to get. I just suddenly popped on. Before we get into The Vampire by John Polidori, and I've been planning this out in my head for weeks, trying to decide how to introduce it, how to start it, and here we are. So I decided yesterday, I decided, hey, Kat, that when I do the vampire videos, I will be wearing my supernatural shirt because the Winchesters may not have come up for decades after, but I thought it'd be a cool shirt to include when I'm doing the vampire videos. And I'm glad that we did have a Comic-Con event here in London. It was a number of years ago that I picked up this shirt. I'm glad I did. It'll come in handy to do these videos. And when I'm doing my outside the box videos, which will be every other Wednesday between the vampires, I'll be wearing my Stargate shirt that I also got at the same Comic-Con. So those will be the visual cues of what am I talking about in the videos. And yay me, that's what I decided on. Now, we're starting off with John Polidori's The Vampire because it was the first published vampire story. It is certainly not the first vampire story ever. I mean, people all around the world had been talking about vampires, these different creatures. They have different names, obviously, in different countries. There are different things attributed to them, as in draining energy, draining the life source, as in blood, a lot of other things. And at some point, I'll get into some of that as well. And yes, I do have my notes. This will probably be a relatively short stream because I'm just covering the stuff with Polidori. And I may at some point do a full video with a bit more information about both John Polidori and maybe the story as well. So a few things that I did want to mention, and part of the intro that I was thinking is before we get into the vampire, a few things to remember. Long before the Winchesters were talking about vampires in their series, long before, well, a few years before Carmilla, which I did notice looking up some things about this story, is by some considered to be the first lesbian vampire story. There are certainly some indications of that as you read through it. And I'm very surprised then that this was not on the banned book list or hasn't been on any of the lists that I've come across when I was checking through things in 2024. I participated in the event 24 in 2024 that was started by MJ, Reading This Life. It was great to be involved in that and realizing just how big an issue that is. But yeah, somehow Le Fanu and Anne Rice didn't get on that list. Now, I'm really surprised actually with both of those authors, because what I did discover going through the banned book list is when I looked at why some of these books were banned, other than learning that most of the people never actually read the stuff they were complaining about. But sadly, sexual orientation in the book seems to be the big bugaboo for some people. I don't know why, but then, people be what they be. So, yes, Carmilla, and it's a short story, and Carmilla will be coming up in the third week of the vampire parts. Next, well, 2 weeks from now, will be the family of Vourdalak, and then we'll get to Carmilla. Whoopsie. We also have, of course, Dracula by Bram Stoker. That was written after Carmilla. And according to when I did a quick Google search yesterday, because I was curious how many vampire stories are there, according to, I think it was the AI answer, um, wait. Did I? No. Okay, this is why I have notes. The most famous vampire is Dracula by Bram Stoker. Now, that's according to Penguin Books Australia. I do think that Dracula is by far the best known vampire of them all. He's been around for a long time, not just as a vampire, but as a published work. This is my original copy. I've had this since I was a teenager. Book prices were definitely different back then. I paid $1.95 brand new. I love the artwork. That's something I really miss on so many of the books that are published now. The covers are amazing on the older books. Now, even before, hey, William, I should say after the vampire, we suddenly started getting these romance books. This is a Carpathian novel, Dark Tarot. It's book 30 something. This series was created by Christine Feehan. I believe there are now 39 books in her series. I did just read book number 1. I borrowed that from my public library. Sadly, they don't have the entire series of her works, but they did have book 1, which explains a little bit more about what these Carpathians are. But her series focuses more on the Carpathians themselves. It just kind of mentions vampires as an offshoot. Then, of course, we have vampires that show up in the Dresden Files. This is book number 4, Summer Night, and Harry has to deal with various courts of the vampires, and they're very different from what others have described vampires as. And I'll get into more details about the specific descriptions of vampires when I get to those particular books. As I said, vampires have changed a lot over the centuries. And here's another romance book about them. So if you're familiar with Nosferatu, definitely not the kind of vampires you'll find in the romance books. This is The Vampire with the Dragon Tattoo. This is by Carolyn Sparks. I still need to read this one. I have finished Summer Night and Dark Tarot. Even though it's a romance, Dark Tarot was actually not a bad read because it was mostly action and other things going on, not so much that boom chicka wah wah stuff. And then, of course, and this will be a reread, I just haven't done it yet, we have Stephanie Meyer, who got into those twinkly vampires, which still doesn't work for me. I think I've only read 2 out of her, well, now 5 books, because I think the newest one, if you're on Team Rewatch, and by the way, thank you if you're doing that, or you're here right now, if you can let me know, is book 5, I think that's from Edward's perspective, but I could be wrong on that. And I am planning to reread Twilight. Yes, Edward is now 20 years old. Yes. Wait, is he? Is this 2005 or 2015? 2005. So yes, Edward is now 20 years old. Wow, that makes me feel old. But there are a lot of now published stories, and the vampires have changed from the description that John Polidori gave us in his first published work. Now, okay, oops. Okay, let me get to the comments. So Kat's calling me sneaky because I just popped in. Didn't give me option to pre-spam. It's because I came on within a minute. Yay, vampires. One in my... Oh, cool. Current read 2. Uh-oh. Not doing it for me. Let me know. What are you reading, Kat? Is it an adventure book? Because they show up in a lot of things. Yes, Carmilla was very tame. Definitely not an ACOTAR, nothing left to the imagination type of scenes. But then again, we have to remember Carmilla was written back in the 1800s. So the fact that it even hinted at a relationship between 2 women, I'm sure was a big thing back then. Aw, pouring rain, want a nap. We don't have rain now. We did have rain overnight, and there's more in the forecast for this afternoon. William saying hi, and heard there was a gender swap retelling of Twilight. Okay, interesting. We'll have to figure that out. And I just realized my arm keeps popping up. So yes, this was my boo-boo yesterday. I was out doing some yard work and there's no snow on the ground. My ears are all plugged from allergies and my balance is off. So when I wiped out, instead of landing in some soft snow, I landed on a bunch of other stuff and it just looks gnarly. So, and I'm never going to be a nurse. So I did this while Bob, who thankfully was home. The universe always thank you. Whenever I have my big whoopsie doodles, Bob at least is home. So twice when my back gave out and I needed help getting in the house, he was here. And yesterday when I wiped out and I needed someone to take care of that, he was also here. I came in, I cleaned it up, then I went out and kept doing yard work and waited till he was done his nap. And I should also, well, here's Lily, and we were out enjoying the mild temperatures that we currently have. Panther right now is snoozing on the click out in the living room. And Tiki, of course, is, being her little mischief self, reminding me that I need to get that table cleared off and those books all read. What else? Okay, so The other points I want to cover before we get into the specifics of the story. Yes, Panther and Tiki. Tiki always plays innocent. She's a character. But there were some interesting things that I noticed as I was starting to look a bit farther into vampires and the different information. So, just on a quick search yesterday, according to Goodreads, and I mean, they've got most of the books. I'm not going to say all the books because there are millions and millions of books that have been published over the different genres. But according to Goodreads, they only had 769 books about vampires. Now, that was according to some type of survey. I didn't go much farther into it, and I haven't logged into Goodreads in ages. I really should get that done because I've passed my goal of 25 books for this year, and I haven't put any of them in since December 2025. So I need to get that updated. But I was surprised that was such a low number for vampire books, especially on Goodreads, because I mean, there are tons of books. So, for example, I checked through my public library. Hey, Diane. And according to my public library, for vampire fiction, and this is just vampire fiction, they had 1,234 books. That's a lot of vampire books and a huge genre to try and break into. Specifically for vampire drama, there were 57 books, and that included DVDs. So things like Buffy, The Vampire Diaries, and a number of other series. So, I mean, the fact that my library has over 1,000 books listed, I'm really shocked that on Goodreads, it only had 769 books about vampires. There's definitely more out there. And another website that I need to check into is monstercomplex.com. And according to that website, there are 60 plus vampire series. So these weren't individual books, these are complete series just about the vampires. Now, I don't know if they include Carolyn Sparks. This might be a series, I'm not sure. Oh, yes, it is. Can't wait for the next book in the series, Lindsay Sands. I've never read anything by her either, but so this is obviously a series. Harry Dresden, where vampires feature, is a series now up to 18 books. And I know from watching different things on Bookish Chaz, there are also either short stories or novellas. So Harry's got a lot more stories than just the 18. And here's a funny, bizarre coinkydink about Dresden. So the main character, of course, is a wizard. He's named Harry. His first girlfriend, comically, is named Elaine. Now, that in itself is funny, just being my name. What makes it even funnier is way back in public school, my first boyfriend was named Harry. I mean, the odds are, if I was really Spock, I could tell you what the odds are, but that just cracked me up when I found out that Harry Dresden's first girlfriend has my name, which, yes, I am still ticked that my name is in Akatar, spelled incorrectly, but we're not going down that path. And yes, in Christine Feehan's, like I say, with the Carpathians, there's 39 books in that series. So vampires, they're around a lot, and they're very popular. And people enjoy reading them for a lot of different reasons, whether they're just reading a specific vampire story or reading series where vampires are featured. Now, when I did the Google search, because I was curious how many vampire books have been published since Polidori's first publication, and according to the AI, because it says AI overview when it first comes up, there is no single total, as there are thousands of vampire books across many genres. That was impressive because even an AI can't figure out how many altogether and break it down by just vampire, adventure, etc. For us here in the future, we're lucky, and I don't have it with me, but the Vampire began on that famous weekend when Mary Shelley wrote her short story and then expanded it to the novel Frankenstein that many people are familiar with. I just read Frankenstein for the first time a couple of years ago. I very much enjoyed it. I think, Kat, if you're still here, let me know. Is it Dean Koontz that has a series about Frankenstein? And I can't remember if it's based on, or if someone else knows who's currently listening. If anyone else knows, is it Koontz that has the Frankenstein series? And is it based on or similar to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein? Now, during that weekend, I mean, the reason they ended up, there was a group of them. I don't have the date in front of me right now, but there were a group of them together on vacation. The weather wasn't great to get out and about and do other things. We're back in the 1800s, so there was no television. So, they weren't doing the popcorn watching movies. And there was no thing called the internet. So they weren't all scrolling through social media and checking things out or watching YouTube videos or any of that type of thing. Back in the day when you didn't get out and about, and lucky for us, people either told each other stories around the fire or they wrote stories, as this group did. Now, John Polidori is given credit for the Vampire. He did not begin the story. That actually was written by Lord Byron. But unlike Mary Shelley, Byron did not, fine tune or tweak his story. John Polidori is the one who took that short story, did a bit of work on it, and then published it. But when it was first published, it was actually credited to Lord Byron. And then that changed over time. And this is some of the stuff that if I decide to do a video, I'll include that, because I do know eventually, as we all now know, John Polidori is the one who published The Vampire, and he was given credit for that over time. Sadly, John Polidori never got to see how popular his story would become because he passed away at 28 years old. And again, I know I have that covered in the notes, what happened. I believe it was a disease that impacted him. And in himself, he's a very interesting individual. I mean, he traveled in a pretty famous circle and group of people, Lord Byron, Mary Shelley. There were other artists there as well. I believe he was the medical doctor, and I can't remember now offhand. It's the one note I don't have in front of me. I think he was actually taking care of Lord Byron and overseeing his health concerns. So it's interesting that Polidori, and lucky for us, he decided to take on that story and made some changes to it and became, throughout history, known as the first individual who published a vampire story. So lucky for us at that point, the printing press had been invented. People were able to have access to printed works. Although, unlike today, I mean, I have my one bookcase here, others in the living room. Unlike today, people didn't have a lot of books. And part of it was because the price of it or access to being able to purchase them. Another vampire that we'll be talking about later into this series is, of course, Varney the Vampire. And that work was published as what were called back then penny dreadfuls. So they were put out in installments. I've never read, actually, I need to see if there is a full collection of Varney. I know there's little bits here and there, and I have excerpts from Varney in various collections. And I do know that that story went over time. So I'm just going to catch up with the comments. Hey, Diane. Read both The Vampire. Nice. Carmela. Awesome. Oh, last year. Cool. When you read Dracula. Awesome. Let me know what you thought of each of those. I still need to read Dracula's Guest. I have it as a short story in a couple of my collections, actually, but I still haven't read Dracula's Guest. That's on my list of coming up. William read The Last Man by Mary Shelley, world's first post-apocalyptic novel. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that weekend brought a lot of amazing works forward that we still enjoyed today, which gives you a good idea. Oh, thank you, Diane. Dean Koontz's Frankenstein is a 5-book saga, reimagines the classic story, focusing on the original creature, Deucalion, okay, and his creator, Victor Frankenstein. Okay, now Victor Helios. Interesting. I'll have to check it out. And I do enjoy Koontz's writing. I used to read him decades ago when I was reading Stephen King and Michael McDowell. Really enjoyed their writing styles. I like Koontz because you don't have to stress about the animals with him. Okay, yep, Cat was good. Oh, should have stopped at a trilogy. All right, that's good to know. And I'll have to check my library. I know I've seen some of them. But yeah, and people saying hi to each other, which is always awesome. I love that in the chats as well, the live streams. So I think I know I've covered the number of different vampire stories, and I'll be delving into that a bit more as well. I've mentioned that Polidori isn't the one who created the story, but he is given credit for the first published work because he did some work on the story that Byron began, but he's the one who actually got it published. I've mentioned that it wasn't a new concept. You look through the world, a lot of the ancient civilizations, and there's definitely many, many versions to the vampire with a lot of different names. Some I'll have to check on how to pronounce them properly because, again, different countries and the alphabets. and sounds are a bit different. So I've mentioned that, and then I've talked about what I discovered as of April 2026 and the number of things. So yeah, 60 plus vampire series. That's wild. And I mean, like I said, they go from strictly vampire. So like Anne Rice's The Vampire Chronicles. We've got romance books that have a bunch of them. And I did note when I first came across Christine Feehan, which I lucked into 4 of her books for under $4 because I found them at my thrift store on a sale day, which was a nice bonus, but I didn't realize these were way into her Carpathian series. She began her series in 1999. So, contrary to what I first thought when I went to her website and went, how is this woman produced? I think she's up to something like 100 books. The Carpathian series is just one series she has. There's also Jaguar People and a couple of others. And I was thinking to myself, how has this woman produced this much? And I'll explain when I talk more about it. But this was before AI and like some of these other people who other folks are talking about right now. No, her stuff isn't AI generated or chat GPT or any of those other things. She's actually written all of these stories. She was doing it long before AI started just spitting things out. And I've noticed, or I've heard on some of the different videos I've seen, that AI stuff people are pumping out by like 20, 30 books in like a year, 2 years, are not selling as well as the authors who actually take the time to produce their work. So there you go. Note to any budding authors, don't just put out the AI crap. And that also includes content. I've been watching lately different YouTubers talking about, well, some of them sadly have been demonetized, others have lost their channels, and it's the AI stuff that right now is being targeted and looked at. And what YouTube is looking for, as one content creators put it very well, you. They want to see a human face, they want to see an effort. And even if you're not on screen, they're looking for something original. And that's really important to make note. So even if you're leery or shy about being on screen and say you're using an avatar or something, that part isn't being, they're not saying don't do that, because some people wear masks and different things because they're self-conscious or just not comfortable. You can still do all of that stuff or use an avatar, but just be sure that your content has something to offer, whether that's education, entertainment, etc., but really be original and creative. Don't just, same thing, same thing, same thing. Now, yeah, see, always takes me, this is why a video would have been a bit more challenging. And it's why I was like, okay, how do I want to start this? Do I start long before ... and go through, Supernatural and all these other people? Because the vampires have been around for a long time and there's so many different things. Some are out in the daytime, and it was actually Bob who remembered, even though I've seen the movie, Dracula was able to go out in the daytime. Carmilla is out in the daytime. A lot of the older vampire stories, they were not just out at night. That started switching along the way, and Hollywood really latched on to that. Anne Rice latched on to that. I mean, can you imagine the kind of chaos and fun Lestat would have had, being able to go out and about during the day. That would have made for a very different Vampire Chronicle series for sure. But some people stick with that. They can only be out during the night hours, which to me, I'll be honest, doesn't make a lot of sense because, they're supposedly around people. A lot of shops aren't open overnight where they would be wanting to get all these different things. But now, as far as Polidori, our story, now, that's the other thing I did want to mention. So it appears in my supernatural short stories. And this was really confusing because it started with extract of a letter from Geneva. Now, as I'd never read The Vampire before, I thought that was a part of the story, which, by the way, it isn't. It's just the background in terms of Polidori, Lord Byron. Then there's an introduction to the story, and then we finally get to the story itself. So it was really a different way of presenting it. Now, in Vampires, Encounters with the Dead, and this is by David J. Scull, it was very easy to figure out what the story was. He has this amazing artwork on one side, and with all of the stories in this collection he's put together, you have the story itself, and on the side, he includes all the extra information, whether it's something about the characters, whether it's about the author. And yes, it's probably a good thing. Hey, Eva, how are you doing? It's probably a good thing Noah's not here. There'd be a huge legasp. I do have my notes written and it's highlighted. So here we have the story. Oh, and there's even a picture of John Polidori. So it was so much easier to follow what's the story in the Vampires book versus all that other stuff in the front of supernatural short stories. And I found it a bit bizarre. This is edited by Joshua Perry. There's a number of amazing stories in here, but it's only the Vampire that he had all that other stuff in the front. I checked through the others and it doesn't have the same thing. Now, some of these authors, actually, I think, are they all? Oh, no, some of them are new to me, some not. So we have The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. We've got 2 stories by Frances Marion Crawford. Guy de Maupassant, 3 stories there. This collection has Dracula's Guest. M.R. James, I think he's Count Magnus, but I'll have to double check. 2 stories by Sheridan Le Fanu, not Carmela. So these are 2 short stories that would be new to me. So a few other things that I need to read in there. But as far as The Vampire, A Tale, and this, if I'm correct with this little thing here, is published 1819. Carmilla, and I don't know if this one, it's Arcturus, and it's just a little novella, although I do have this in another copy. Yeah, see, this is published 2023, but the original itself, do we have it? 1872. So big gap between the vampire and Carmilla. Okay, good to know. The vampire begins, and it definitely, 1819. So reading this, you definitely get a sense of how different the times are. We have a young man and his sister. Our young man's the narrator of the story. They're orphans. Their parents have passed away, but left them a ton of money. And they have guardians who sadly don't really seem to be that interested in either of the kids. They oversee the money, but I don't even think we ever find out their names. They're just people who make sure the kids are taken care of, but they're not, really connected or together. They oversee the funds. The young man decides he wants to see the world. He's met this individual called Lord Ruthven. Let's see, did I say that right? Yes, Ruthven. I keep wanting to call him Ruthven for some reason, but it's Ruthven. So he meets this individual and decides, oh, this is who I want to go see the world with. And the sisters left at home because it was the young men who got their education traveling around and that type of thing. But his sister ends up having to stay at home. So although she also has access to this money, she's not given the same opportunities of going to travel and be out abroad. In this day and age, it would be the brother and sister traveling together. And again, that would make for a very different story. But as this young man's traveling with Lord Ruthven, he starts to notice things that make him very uncomfortable. The way that this man treats people, what he reinforces by giving them extra money, and people he just looks down upon. So Aubrey, who's the young man, really starts to wonder about this individual and decides maybe this isn't someone that he wants to see the world with and stay connected to. And so they part ways, and that doesn't end up going so well. Aubrey notices other things about this individual. Of course, Lord Ruthven doesn't want other people to know who and what he is. Aubrey's interfered with an individual that Lord Ruthven had his eye on. I guess in this day and age, you would call them grifters, getting near someone, or shall we say, sucking up to someone for money and wealth. And Aubrey interferes with that. Lord Ruthven is not impressed. They have words, and the agreement that Aubrey makes is to keep silent for a year. And he travels back home. Things start not going very well, and I'm not going to spoil the ending of it. Let's just say that before you decide to keep silent about something going on and things that you've noticed, you really need to look at the big picture, potential consequences, who else may get drawn into that. And yeah. Ooh, now I've made a note here that there's no quick healing. So we have a lot of different things going on here. They've traveled through many countries. I'll have to double check And one of the videos that I will have coming up are the different characteristics. So whether they could walk through the day, whether they had this quick healing. There's so many varying things with the vampires throughout time. The other cool thing with this particular copy is that the editor who put this together, he includes the different movies that were made based on the stories that he's talking about. He gives the years that they were shown, just kind of cool and different. A poster for an 1862 revival of Boot, whoa, Buchikalt's play. So we have plays based on the vampire. There were movies. This is talking about an opera. 1828. So, I mean, vampires, to try and find out where they show up and how much of the material about them is out there, takes quite a bit of time because we've got the stories, we have movies. I didn't realize there was an opera made about them. We have TV shows. They are hugely popular. And I mean, there's a lot of different reasons for that. You know, they're mysterious. They're different types of characters. You've got that immortality, and they can go on for a long time. We have people like Marius from the Vampire Chronicles who have seen so many things happen over 2,000 years. Lord Ruthven, and again, I'll have to double check. I'm not sure how old he was or even how he was created. So those are the different kinds of things I need to look back on as I go through the story. But it was an enjoyable read. Yeah, see, and agreed with Diane. Enjoyed the vampire. It was suspenseful. Yeah, because we don't really know how things are going to turn out. And certainly when Aubrey agrees to keep silent for a while, that's a tad bit old. They are. Makes me feel young because they're way older than me. Dan was saying, subscribe to the channel. He's off screen, no face. Yep. But narrates videos. Started putting human narrator on his thumbnails. Yep. Thought that's brilliant. Exactly. Because, like I say, as I've been watching a lot of these other, they're not necessarily how to YouTube videos. They're just sharing their experience and kind of what's going on with them. Like I say, I've come across one individual was actually demonetized. He's been on the platform for 9 years. He does fitness things, I believe. And I don't watch a lot of fitness stuff. I do have physiotherapists that I watch, Bob and Brad, and now Mike, as sadly, Bob, yeah, Bob passed away several months ago. He had been declining for a few years. I think it's called, oh, wait, but it did make me sad because I hadn't been watching them for a while. And but I do enjoy watching them. But so this individual with the fitness, he had been demonetized. I guess a bunch of them got emails, sort of like way back in the spring when a bunch of us got hit and I had to retrieve my account and I'm still rebuilding. Individuals now have been getting hit with you're demonetized, and to switch that around, you have to make a video, all that kind of stuff. So this person from the 9 years got his channel back. He's monetized again. He's fine. But I did notice going through the comments, it didn't work out that way for a number of other people. So Diane, the person that you're subscribed to, I am glad that, they're making that point of human narrator because, not everyone, well, myself included, is comfortable in front of a camera. I do it and I get through it. And it's different on a live stream versus recording, but still, it can be very intimidating to be in front of that camera. And there may be different reasons that people don't want to show their face, but they still have things to share and content that people want to see. So I think it's important that they be allowed to still continue on the platform. I think what YouTube's trying to do is just eliminate that AI slop term that's become quite popular of, and I know I've come across some of those channels, like they'll have 2 or 3 videos a day, you know, for 5, 6 days a week. And trying to put out that kind of content is really hard. And it's long content, not shorts. So those kinds of things are now being flagged. There are some people who do upload 2, 3 times a day. I don't know how they do it, and kudos to them because, yeah, sometimes just trying to get one video when I said I was going to, depending on how my week and life and everything is going, it's like, yeah, no. And even to do this, like I say, and part of it's because I haven't been recording and stuff lately. And I find when you get in that slump, it's kind of hard to get back in front of the screen and then want to start editing and all of that stuff again. And I just realized I missed Kat's comment. Christopher Moore also did a retelling of Frankenstein. Okay. Suitably weird and amusing. Okay, cool. So something to make note of. Diane, yeah, YouTube's flooded. Even the shorts are bad AI junk. Yeah, and from what I've heard from some of these content creators that I've seen, is YouTube's actually trying to eliminate some of that. But I mean, they have a platform with, I think it's over, well, actually, I know it's over 2 billion users. Now, the majority, I'm thinking, are human. I don't know if these bots or whatever you call them, or even AI, has their own channels. Be kind of creepy if they did. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, just means it'd be creepy. And I actually came across, I think it was an article the other day, and I need to look into it more. And it wasn't a new article either. It was something about Facebook had actually had to shut down 2 of the different AIs because they'd come up with their own language. And yeah, I don't remember hearing anything about that, but then I'm bad in terms of keeping up with news and that kind of thing, especially the last month, and that I've tried to avoid it. It's not that I'm not interested or that I'm not concerned or that I don't care. It's the opposite. I care too much. I worry too much. I stress too much. And there's only so much that I can do. And right now, I need to take care of me and get myself on track, getting back. And that's a good thing. The stretches and things have been helping. So the pain's decreased, which means, yay, I can get back to focusing on content creation and, getting excited about editing and doing things again. But yeah, for now, it's a little bit slow going, but that's okay. Like I say, and I mentioned in one of my posts, I have over 600 videos, which I never thought would be a reality for me. Um, but here we are, and it's been a fun adventure. So many amazing people to meet, and learning about the technology and all of that different type of stuff, learning about the different genres and what to cover. So, yeah, I think I am going to wrap up there today. I know somewhere in there I ended up talking about Polidori, but thanks to my amazing community, folks are all used to me rambling and running all over the place till I get somewhere. So my videos tend to be a lot more focused and to the point, partly because thanks for editing. So I end up usually cutting out half of what I've recorded, and that's okay. Hopefully, it makes for better content. My live streams are where I pretty much ramble and chit chat, and we go here and there and everywhere else. But yay, now the vampires are on track. This is the Wednesday, and this is the day I was going to do Polidori. Coming up, and next time, and it may be a video. I haven't decided if I'm going to stick with the long stream format or video format for these. But the next vampire one is going to be the family of Vurdelac. I have a copy of that in my big vampire book, and also Voices from the Vaults. The nice thing is, with that story, they're exactly the same, which is cool. And there's a typo, which I'm not really sure why they both included it, but I'll chat more about that when we get to the family of Vurdelac. I've read it at least two, well, now 3 or 4 times. The sad thing is, I keep forgetting it. Polidori's The Vampire, I remember it. I mean, there's a few specifics that I forget, but I remember the concept of the story. The family of Vurdelac, I need to read it, reread it each time to remember, partly because there's a horn dog in it, and horn dogs don't really impress me, so maybe I just kind of shoot that out of my brain after I've read it. But as far as the story itself, again, there are some interesting things in terms of vampires and what they do. You might actually enjoy that, Diane. Oh, and I'm curious. Oh, of Dracula. It was that nonfiction book, and I know you were going to read that while you were doing your vampire reads. I ended up DNFing that one. I think, was it written by Leonard Wolf? And yeah, I ended up using that book for my crafts and when I get into junk journaling. It wasn't what I expected. I have a few nonfiction vampire books that I'm really excited to start talking about and I have to revisit. One, I think, is from the 1970s, possibly. And I need to look into some things of whether things they were talking about there had happened or not, because I know a lot of people talk about Bram Castle in Romania and know that was not Dracula's home. He did have a castle, but his is in ruins, and I don't know if they ever actually got around to restoring that or not. So a lot of fun adventures and things to check out and look into. So many different angles with vampires to look at. And as I mentioned in my introduction video, we do enjoy them. I mean, obviously, if my library has over 1,200 books, it's a popular genre. There's lots of people still writing stories, making movies, making shows. They're scary. They can be creepy. There's just so many different things about them. So I'm going to call it a wrap today. Thank you so much to everyone who popped by. Like I say, this was just spur of the moment, so there was no notification. If I decide that I'm going to continue doing the live stream format for the vampires, I'll let you know. Next week will be the intro to the Outside the Box videos that will include things like UFOs, Sasquatch, well, cryptids, which of course includes Sasquatch, ghosts, all that paranormal stuff. And I'm looking forward to getting into all of that stuff. I'm looking forward to the reads. I'm all over the place, so I've got to try and narrow that down. Yes, that's the one. So I am curious if you enjoyed it or not. I know for me, it was a DNF for sure. And um, Diane, I know in one live stream we were talking about Lord of the Rings, and Dave was there, so I'll have to check, or whether there's still a plan to do a buddy read with Lord of the Rings. I think it was in June or July. And that reminds me, I need to do my wrap up for the Testaments, and I need to do a thing about Dr. Sleep. So I have a ton of things to do. It's just getting them recorded, getting them where I'm happy to upload them, because like I said last week, I had been hoping to get Polidori up, but I'm not just going to throw up some video I've slapped together to say that there, it's up. Like, I want to make something that I'm excited about, that, I've enjoyed making, and I'm getting back into the swing of it. I definitely need to get back into the swing of it and get a few ahead, because with the mild weather, I'm so excited. The windows have been open for a few days. It's lovely to have those mild temperatures again. And I'm itching to get back outside and start getting some yard work done, which means I need to have my content ready to go. So I'm outside. When I'm outside playing, I'm not thinking, oh, I was supposed to be recording a video today. So again, finding that nice balance. Yeah, I haven't heard him talk about it either, but I think he's either into a huge Tchaikovsky or finishing a huge Tchaikovsky. And I know his reading card is packed, so I don't know if he'll be able to do it or not. Okay, so you haven't read it yet. I am curious to see what you think of it, because like I say, I gave it a try, and it sadly didn't have the information that I was hoping for. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm definitely planning to read A Dream of Dracula. Dracula's Guest. And yeah, I should probably do that before I cover the story Dracula. And like I said, with Dracula, there'll be a 3-part series, because I'll also be looking at Vlad Tepes, the individual that Dracula was based on, which seems to be the consensus of most people. Some are saying, no, he wasn't. And I'll have to check out some of those different sources. Personally, I think he was, because having read a few other books, the location, the history, all that type of stuff, there's a lot included in the book that certainly leans towards it being Vlad Tepes. So I'll have to check that out, make notes. Yeah. I know from some of his sprints and that he's definitely got a lot on the go. Well, as many of us do in the world right now. Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you for that little teaser. Hey, Margaret. How you doing? Just about to wrap up. And Margaret, I believe you're live shortly. I think is it in an hour? Because I know it's Wednesday. I know there are a few other live streams happening, so it's kind of hard to sometimes not overlap. Okay, just finishing up the prep. Breakfast. See, it's almost lunchtime here. Okay, so got an hour. Perfect. So if you're listening, pop on over to Margaret's in an hour. She'll be doing her live stream. Yeah. Well, you're my role model, Margaret. I had considered doing a video, and then what really struck me this past week is that what I'm really missing and why I love buddy reads and things like that, I'm missing talking about books and interacting with people about stories and books. And I mean, I put them up myself. There's a lot of great videos there that I need to catch up on right now, but it's I want to talk to people and interact with people about the stories and the characters. And, I can watch the video, but it's not interactive. There is to a point with comments back and forth, and I enjoy that. I appreciate comments, and I love that type of engagement as well. But I'm really missing people and and interacting. So it's not just me talking. And I think what I may do at some point is throw in the link, and if people want to hop on, then we can chit chat together, as far as the live stream. One, because I've been lucky. There's not really, now watch, that'll end up changing. Now and again, you have people that come in that you're like, but thankfully that doesn't happen often. My live streams, I've been, touch wood, lucky. It's always amazing, lovely people. And yeah, so I may, start throwing in the link. If you don't want to be on screen, you don't have to have your screen active. You can just do this and have an avatar. So it would be lovely to have other people join me up here. We can hear your voice. If you want to be on screen, that's awesome too. But yeah, I'm really going for more interaction. So I'll still have videos, but I'm liking the live stream option for sure. There you go. It's a nice surprise about vampires. Yay! Thank you both. Oh, I forgot the cute little seems may or may not be on. Oh, yeah, you are. Uh-oh, in the description and thumbnail. All right, we'll have to get after Noah about that. Have to be, yeah, and I agree. And that's it. And I don't have oh, wait. So thank you for that, Margaret. And I do know about not knowing who may pop on. But the awesome thing is I have Voxer, so I can always share the link. Diane, if you would like to join me at some point, talking about either Carmilla, if you're free when I pop on, I'll have to figure out the time, because I just popped on after 10 today. So I'll have to find out about the time, but I know I have people on Voxer, so I could always just pop the link in there, and then people can hop through, because you can use Voxer on your computer, which I figured out a little while ago. It's a good side channel. So yeah, I think I like the idea. I really prefer the lives. I'm going to try out Streamlabs because right now I have to really be careful about the amount of time because Mondays I'm doing The Artist's Way as a live stream instead of videos. And then if I do this as live streams, there's a few more hours because we all know I just babble endlessly. Because I already said, 20 minutes ago I was ending and I'm still talking. I've got my live stream tomorrow with Cindy that I'm really looking forward to. That's at 3 p.m. Eastern. So, Cindy from Wondering About Nature, where I'll be hearing about the new state that she lives in, the different conservation areas, and experiences she's had moving from one state to another. So I'm looking forward to that, but I need to be mindful of the time. And then on the 25th, I'm just looking up because my wall calendar is literally up on the wall, the big one. On the 25th, I have the Vampyre Chronicles group chatting about Merrick. That's going to be our last Chronicle live for a little while, just because life and things happening here and the springtime. So I'll have to see if that picks up either later in the summer or the fall, but we'll be doing that on the 25th. And my live stream hours don't reset until the 11th on StreamYard. So I need to make sure I've got enough time to do all of that. Which has me thinking, okay, today is the 15th. I've got the stream tomorrow with Cindy, which is probably another 2 hours, which is good because I'm so excited. Then the 20th and the 27th are The Artist's Way, which I kind of keep down to an hour usually. Okay, so there's another 2, 3, 4. I've just passed 1 hour here. Take care, Margaret. Thanks for popping in, and thanks for all the good tips about live streaming. Okay, the 23rd is an outside the box. That's just going to be an introduction video. The live stream for Merrick, and then the 30th will be the family of Verdilac. I might be able to pull this all off as live streams. Yay! Okay, so now for reels. I am going to say thank you so much for popping in, for the lovely comments and interaction. I've really enjoyed this and being able to chit-chat back and forth. I'm definitely, I like the interactive style of doing things much more. So I may be sticking with that for a number of different things. There are some other videos that'll be going up that I have planned. I still need to update my ARVA video with some information. I have a few more things to update with Goodwill and a whole number of other things. I may get to some tags. I will be having a tag on the 18th, doing a tag on the 18th. That's over at the Bookworm, Noah's channel, along with the whole Chaos crew, Margaret, Kat, Ven, Noah, and Jenny. So that should be a good time. And I'm going to say thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you being here. Your team rewatch, thank you so much. I always appreciate that as well. If your team rewatch, make sure to leave me a comment down below if you've read some of the stories. Do you have a favorite vampire? And until next time, well, actually tomorrow at 3 p.m. when I'm chatting with Cindy, take care, have a great one, and we will chat soon.